In the first pilot few months back, title deed tokenization happened where a single apartment was being sold to almost 140 nationalities. Now today, second phase of this pilot is starting here, where secondary trading of these tokenized assets or the fractions will start.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Valerian Markets Commercial Director Mark Mariampillai and also Integra Foundation core contributor Piyush Gupta. Mark, Piyush, very good to speak with you. I'll start with you, Mark. How will this partnership with Integra help Valerian Markets bring tokenized real estate to investors faster?
Well, Valerian Markets is going for a multi-chain approach, and with Integra, they're focused on real estate for their EVM L1. What this enables us to do is focus on issuers that have real estate, come and bring them on Integra. Why? Because Integra focus on building a business. There's potentially buy-side asset managers that we're building onto their chain. So by bringing quality issuance onto Integra, we can marry them up with the liquidity that will come on Integra.
You mentioned boosting liquidity and revenue. How does this collaboration make trading these assets easier and more profitable?
Okay, yeah, taking one example globally in Dubai, there are secondary trading of tokenized real estate along with property deeds. What Integra will be doing and helps Valerian Markets is start building apps, issuances that we can build on their chain, bring secondary trading liquidity onto their chain. Why? Because institutions, sophisticated retail, high net worth individuals will start to be able to trade from a primary issuance all the way through the life cycle to secondary trading of real estate on chain.
Piyush, let's bring you in here. How does Integra's blockchain infrastructure make real estate tokenization more transparent and accessible?
Sure, Stephen. Before answering that, maybe I'll give you a little glimpse of why Integra actually came into play and why another L1. That's a question which mostly I get questioned every time. Is we have seen a lot of L1s, L2s came in last few years, and they're mostly generalist blockchains. There were NFTs and gamings and DeFi, everything happening on those chains. When you come to an asset class or you think of a ecosystem being built, today we do not have an asset operating system where you have developers and asset managers and brokers and broker dealers from different geographies come together and start interacting, talking the same language. That is what has been missing in the ecosystem so long. And now we're dealing with an asset which is comprising of 75% of the global wealth. We are talking about $400 trillion market, which definitely deserves its own ecosystem and its own place. So that's why Integra Foundation was being built. Now, to answer your question, which I partially did, when you have global distribution networks coming together and trying to create one common standard where things can easily, seamlessly be tradable. And Mark has given a brilliant example of Dubai, where in the first pilot few months back, title deed tokenization happened, where a single apartment was being sold to almost 140 nationalities. Now today, second phase of this pilot is starting here, where secondary trading of these tokenized assets or the fractions will start. Now we are literally thinking going into a phase three where global audiences could participate in these fractions. So you can imagine the transparency and the liquidity which will come into real estate sector by doing that will be huge by all means. So Integra is rightly placed to tackle all these issues.
What does this partnership mean for scaling secondary markets and allowing investors to trade tokenized real world assets globally?
Mark, you want to go first? I think we both have the answer to that.
Yeah, so from Valerian Markets, what it's going to enable us to do is basically build an app that will allow a high net worth, sophisticated retail, even institutions to be able to go and buy a fraction of, say, a skyscraper in Dubai, a big mansion in Sydney, Australia, or even part of a hotel complex in the Caribbean. And it will enable them to come in at primary issuance, so they'd come in at a seed level price. And then later on, as the property is built, they'll be able to go and secondary trade this on the market with various other participants. Again, could include institutions, could include sophisticated retail, and exit those fractions of property. So again, just to repeat, this is going to enable this trading of the actual asset to be settled on T-Instant, as well as the property deed. What does this take away? It takes away all the paperwork, takes away all the legal ambiguity and the timing of selling property and happens on instant. But PG, feel free.
Yeah. Stephen, a couple of things just to add here to what Mark said. Today we are sitting on almost $12 billion of real estate in pipeline that needs to be tokenized on Integra. We are building a couple of in-house products like Asset Passport, which will bring a lot of trust and genuinity and authenticity to the tokenized asset, because people don't really know. If I'm sitting in Dubai and you offer me something in US, I'm not really flying down to US to see the property. I need to trust what is there underneath the token. So we are bringing that trust and ecosystem along with it. And then something which is aligning with Mark's vision of an app, we are going to empower such apps with global order book. So all the global distribution agencies who are trying to sell these assets in their markets, through our global order book, everything will come at one central place where global brokers can easily make them place these assets into their own local communities. And let's not forget, real estate is something which we all love, and we have been trading these real estate assets all our lives, right? Now the time has changed. Instead of putting the whole $1 million into one asset, you can buy 1,000 assets, 1,000 different assets with that $1 million, get a diversification in place, and never risk your money into one place. So super excited with this partnership.
Well, I hope you'll keep us updated with the progress of the partnership. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Stephen.
That's Valerian Markets Commercial Director Mark Mariam Pillay, and also Integra core contributor Piyush Gupta.